All right. Good morning, everybody. This is, what day is today? Today is Wednesday, June 8th. So this will be the second video that I've done so far. Let's see, I said I was going to commit to doing this Monday through Friday. So, and then hopefully what the plan is that this will turn into a pretty solid backlog of content as well. So, amongst being an update for the markets every day. So anyways, let's see, today we are going to go over multiple time frames. So that's everything that I try to do. I try to look at from a top-down perspective. It's very, very easy to look at things in a smaller time frame, not a micro, but like, you should always have an idea of the bigger picture and the bigger things that's going on around you. It's, not getting lost in the forest from, the trees from the forest, however you want to put it. But I know that was something that I struggled with for a long time, and it was a big aha moment when it was like, wait a minute, there's a lot of other things that are going on that are directing and influencing what's happening, and if you're not paying attention to those, then you're kind of already lost before you get started. So anyways, that's why I generally like to look at the weekly charts, the daily charts, stuff like that. It gives me the big picture of what's happening, and it doesn't allow you to get, lost in the nuances of what might be happening, in the middle, intraday or whatnot. Somebody would be like, oh, the market's crashing, but it's like a 1 minute chart. It's like going straight down, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. So anyways, so I had mentioned yesterday, talking about using the Nasdaq, as far as like probably like the central, equities market. So we're going to take a look at that. So we've got our weekly chart here. We've talked about the fact that we were, obviously we were in a long-term uptrend for a long time until, the end of last year. Things started going sideways and then quickly kind of changed direction, and that's been the trend, the ongoing trend. So, so we had positive price structure and trend development and all that. This is all, it's all normal stuff. You can draw your uptrend lines through here, and you can see the momentum. And as things break down, it's called buy the dips until she slips kind of mentality. It's like, okay, we know that the market is going up, so anytime there's a pullback, 5, 10, 15%, who cares? You just buy it. Doesn't matter. You know that it's going back up until that long-term trend changes. So I believe here that the trend really kind of changed hands in this area here, right? We had a period of consolidation. Again, this is the weekly chart, but if your tactics and your strategies are sound, then these should all kind of work on all time frames. So you have a transition period, right, where things can reverse, but when you've got something like the equities market that is long-term trending, it takes a shift in mindset and of the investors, of the traders, and of the overall theme and temperature of the markets in order to shift a big change in direction, right? So just like in 2008, like it didn't just crash overnight. Like that process happened over months and months and months. And if you look at it, we can go back and look at that another day, but that process is kind of slow. It goes from, where it's constantly making new highs to, oh, it's getting a little harder to make new highs, or now it's making new lows, and then it's trying to make a new high, but then fails, right? So those different things are all different nuances and signs that things are starting to struggle. They're not moving as easily as they once did. So here, like I mentioned, so we hit this point of consolidation, right? Things have been kind of jacked up for the last year before that, but the stock market kept pounding away, right? So it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks or what anybody says until the markets start to move. You can start to plan ahead of time for things, but the rubber meets the road when the market actually moves in the direction, right? So anyways, after this consolidation here, price started breaking down, okay? So at this point, this is the beginning of what I would consider to be the signs of a reversal in direction, right? Because plenty of times it can come back down to prior support here, bounce, and then boom, back up to new highs. But when it started, especially the weekly chart I feel like is so important. The moves tend to be sustained once they actually happen. they are sustained for a more significant period of time when the trend breaks and the structure changes than like on the daily chart. So anyway, so broke down here, we broke through this previous support, and then we came down, trended down for a while. It came back up, tested this previous high, which in my opinion was kind of a do or die moment for the markets. This is where it needed to at least stay within this range and rebuild kind of its structure and head back out of there. And instead it broke down and broke through those lows here. So now I'm just kind of, this is just kind of an arbitrary level of support because this is where it's currently chewing and digesting through. So anyways, so now you can see that we got a little bit of a bounce here, heading back up. Didn't get very far before momentum has already kind of slowed down. So let's take this down to the next time frame, which would be the daily. All right. So we had that previous downtrend line. This is our primary downtrend line. So we're watching this. This is one of the more important aspects and features of things. Technically, if this downtrend is going to continue, we're either not going to make it back up to this trend line, or it's going to be rejected rejected lower whenever it does hit that trend line. All right, so here you can see we've had a little bit of a bounce here around this area of support, another low here, but it struggled to make that low, right? So this is a sign of weakness to the downside. So we're going to test a little bounce here, and then we broke this previous high on the daily chart here. So this is a sign. If the trend wasn't down on the weekly, this is something I would be looking at as almost a trigger to get back long, or just a sign of positive price development and momentum. So let's see. So we've got we broke through the high here, and then now price is just kind of digesting and consolidating here. So again, anything could happen from here. You could get price to break out to the upside, to the downside. This is more strategy. A tactic would be, okay, let's say that we thought that price was set to go to head back up here to the downtrend line. You could still, by the looks of it, you could still set up a profitable trade based on your risk and reward by saying, okay, if it breaks this level here, this little area of support, and it violates this to the downside and comes back into this digestion area here, that I'm out, right? So let's say we bought here. So even if we bought this level here, which is what, 12.730, let's say 12.7 for simplicity's sake, right? Our stop is here at 12.4. We have all this room that it can potentially run. So right here, this is still a good trade. This is still a good long setup to make money to the upside, even in a down market. And what you'll really, really find, especially in equity bear markets, is the fact that the rallies that happen in them, the kind of the bull rally within the bear market can be super intense because everybody is geared to the upside. So you want to be, that definitely needs to be on your radar, that if you're trying to short this and you're trying to say, okay, well, the long-term trend is down, and so I want to try to make money to the downside. Those rallies that can happen within bear markets will rip your face off, and they last a lot longer than you think. They just don't end up shifting the entire trend at the end of the day. Like this one here is a good example of that, right? People are already geared for things heading down here, and then all of a sudden just boop, 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 and it just doesn't stop, right, until it does, right? So, but we'll look more into momentum, and we can watch how this develops and other things. Again, I'm just trying to structure how this is going. This is already a 9-minute video. It feels like I've been talking for like 2 minutes. So I'm going to have to try to break this down a bit more and really try to, but that's, it's just practice, right? So the next 3 weeks, like I said, that was kind of my idea, was to structure this and figure out exactly how I wanted to lay it out, and ultimately how much information I could pack in a meaningful way in 5 minutes. So we will see. Anyways, hopefully this provided some value. And anyways, have a great day. We'll see you next time.